Okay, we're going to continue with the first meditation. Last time I came to the end of the first meditation, and by the end of the first meditation, Descartes had come to the conclusion that there was nothing that he could know with certainty. He started out in the 5 points of the M, the first meditation. Let me just briefly go over that really fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5 stages of the first meditation. At first, he starts with sense perception. He can't rely on sense perception, so the quest for certainty is defeated. That's what the minus means. Up here, he thinks he knows that he's sitting by a fire reading a book, and then he realized he could be dreaming, so that could be an illusion. But even in his dream, 2 plus 3 is 5, so it looks like the dream is not going to rob him of his certainty of mathematics and logic. But then he imagines that there's this evil genius that is tricking him. That's very powerful, and that tricks him every time he counts the sides of a triangle or adds 2 and 3, always gets the wrong answer. So by the end of the first meditation, Descartes' quest for certainty has been murdered. That's why I call it dial M for murder. At the end of the first meditation, again, what Descartes is doing is he's trying to find certainty, and he's trying to find certainty so he can build a foundation for science. That's the bottom line. That's what Descartes is after. This is around 16. He's writing around 1630. He finds no help whatsoever in all the previous philosophizing that has been done. He finds no help in Aristotle, no help in Plato, no help in Pythagoras, no help in anybody, Thales, anyone. So he's basically starting afresh. And that's one characteristic of the great philosophers, the great names like Nietzsche and Hegel and Kant. They all kind of begin afresh. They all see difficulties, and they cannot find an answer to those difficulties in previous philosophers. So they have to create their own. And that's what Descartes is doing. So Descartes begins modern philosophy. Basically, the first meditation, you could call it the primal scene of modern philosophy. It's actually, the first meditation is actually one of the great pieces of it's a beautiful piece of literature. And it's also one of the great pieces of philosophy. It's comparable to the Allegory of the Cave by Plato. Okay, so, or the Apology about Socrates. So at the end of the first meditation, so basically that's what Descartes is doing. He's looking for a foundation for science. As I said, the science did not exist in his day. And okay, so what does Descartes conclude at the end of the first meditation? At the end of the first meditation, he comes up with this analogy or this image. But it's an analogy. He imagines, he says he's like a prisoner. He's like somebody in prison. He's asleep. You're in prison. You're sleeping, and it starts. Morning comes, and you're waking up. You're between sleep and awake, but you're in prison. And he says, the last thing you want to do is to open your eyes and wake up in prison. It's much nicer. Much more comfortable to lie in bed with your eyes closed and to be able to dream, that you're outside of prison, that you're free. So you got inside the prison, asleep is much nicer than waking up in prison and having the knowledge, that you're in prison. It's the difference between, in Freudian terms, between illusion and reality. Illusion is much nicer than reality. If you think in terms of Plato, the cave, it's much nicer. It's much more comfortable to be in the cave, thinking that the shadows that you see on the wall are real, and because you're used to them. It's a laborious task to have to turn around and to start coming out of the cave and to see the light. So that's how Descartes sees himself. He sees the analogy is when he's just like everybody else, going about his everyday life, and taking everything for granted. I know I know that there's trees, and I know certain things. Um, I know I'm sitting by a fire reading a book. I know 2 and 3 is 5. We know what we know, and Descartes says that's nice. I mean, it's comfortable, but it's like being in the cave. And he says, because what he's seeking is certainty, and he knows that he doesn't have certainty, and it's an illusion to believe that you have what you don't have. So what he does is he sets out on a quest for certainty, but that quest is very laborious. It's time consuming, and it's very difficult, and it's not fun. So Descartes, he says, I'd rather just, stay asleep, like the prisoner in prison, and not open my eyes, and wake up to reality, which is inside a prison. And so Descartes wants to be like the prisoner and just keep sleeping instead of opening his eyes and continuing on his journey to find certainty, which is very laborious, and it's not fun, just like it's not fun being in a prison. Okay, so that's how the first meditation ends. Basically, it ends with the murder of certainty. And now we go to the second meditation. And now Descartes comes up with a couple another image, and his imagination is working. He says that he feels like he's out in the middle of a lake, and the water is too deep, so he can't touch ground, and yet he can't swim to shore, to find any security in shore. So he's just like stuck out in the middle of the lake and ready to drown. But he says, he's going to continue on. He's not going to try to swim to the shore, which would be basically going back to accepting things just like everybody else does. He's going to stay in the lake and keep swimming and trying to keep swimming until he finds what he's looking for. And then he compares himself to Archimedes, the great Greek mathematician, who said that if he could move the earth, if he could get outside the earth and find one point that was immovable, because of his knowledge of the lever, he could move the earth. But he needed one point that was absolutely immovable, absolutely certain. Once he had that point, he could, with the principles of the lever, he said, I displace the earth, I can move the earth. That's how that's Descartes says he's like Archimedes. He's looking for one point, one absolutely stable, immovable point, something that he can take as an axiom, as an indubitable, absolutely certain axiom on which to build science. So that's what he's gonna set out to do. But it looks very difficult to do because he's doubted everything. I mean, he's doubted the sun and the moon and the stars. He's doubted the trees. He's doubted the ocean. He's doubted that he has hands and feet. He's doubted that he has a body, because the evil demon, this evil genius, as he calls him, can be deceiving him. Again, he doesn't literally believe that there is such an evil genius. It's just a thought experiment. The philosopher, he's trying to basically to out skeptic the skeptics. So he introduces the evil genius, just so he's trying to. He says, if that is it's that evil genius which makes skepticism the most real, the most insurmountable problem. I mean, how do you get beyond the evil genius? If you can get beyond the evil genius, who is tricking you even when you do add 2 and 3, then you can defeat the skeptic. No skeptic had ever been so skeptical as Descartes. Okay, so how does Descartes get out of how does he solve his problem? And he solves it with his famous cogito, cogito, the cogito. And that philosophers just often refer to the cogito, the Cartesian cogito. It's a shorthand for I think, therefore I am. Cogito ergo sum. Now Descartes doesn't put it that way in this. He doesn't put it that way exactly in this meditation, but it's essentially the same thing. He says, I am a thinking being, therefore I exist. Here's how he argues. He's doubted everything, but he's looking for one thing he cannot doubt. And he concludes that the evil demon can trick him about every belief he has. The evil demon can trick him. But he says, the one thing I can know with absolute certainty is that whenever I am being deceived by the evil demon, I am thinking. If I'm thinking, so I'm deceived. So if I'm thinking and I'm being deceived, and my thoughts are not, connecting up with truth. If I am being deceived, he says, I must exist for me to be deceived. I can't be deceived if I don't exist. So yeah, it is true that the evil demon can trick me. I can't avoid that. Even when I add 2 and 3, it may not be 5. But as long as whenever I am being deceived, whenever my thoughts are being distorted, are being tricked, and whenever I am being tricked by the evil demon in my thoughts, I have to exist. Because if I didn't exist, I couldn't be deceived. And in the famous, whenever I think, I exist. That's how he concludes it. And then elsewhere he puts it, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I exist. And when Descartes says cogito, I think, he's talking about any type of self-consciousness. Doubting, imagining, reflecting, even feeling any type of conscious experiences is what he means by the cogito, by thinking. Whenever I am thinking, I have to exist, otherwise I couldn't be thinking. And that is the point that Descartes, that's the solution. Just a little point. The cogito. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. That's all Descartes can know. That's what he's finally found what Archimedes was looking for. That point which is immovable, which will give him absolute certainty. And it's on that basis that he believes he can construct science. Now, just think about what he has found. All he knows, the only thing he knows at the end of the first meditation, the beginning of the first meditation, at the end of the first meditation, he knows he can be certain of absolutely nothing. At the beginning of the second meditation, he has found certainty, but the only certainty he has is just a point. And all he knows for certain is that he exists. I, René Descartes, exist. And all that he knows that he's thinking, he thinks. He doesn't know he has a body. He doesn't know he has arms. He doesn't know anything. He just knows he's thinking. He doesn't know he has arms and legs and a body. He doesn't know that there are other people in the world. He doesn't know that there's other stars and trees, because this could all be coming out of his mind. So he doesn't know there's a world out there. The world may be completely just an illusion. All he knows is that I exist. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I exist. He doesn't know about anything else. He doesn't know he has a body. He doesn't know that there are other human beings. He doesn't know there's a world. Now, on the basis of the cogito, it seems like how is that going to be a foundation for science? Science is the exploration of the world. And he's going to use the cogito, just the fact of his bare existence, his existence. He doesn't know about anybody else. And he's going to use that as the basis to construct science. That's absolutely amazing. But that's how modern philosophy begins. Descartes was a great scientist and a great philosopher, and all he knows for certain is cogito ergo sum.